Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to our family room mission. I'm John. This is Ashley. Remember, she's the pretty one. We are dedicated to helping families turn their living rooms into mission fields for Jesus. And today we want to continue our conversation and get into the topic of understanding our gifts for our family that helps us lead to the mission of our family. The first step in doing that is identifying the mission that we have as a family. Our family mission is, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and love people. So for us, one of the things we try to do to teach our kids that and to be on our mission field is invite a lot of people into our life, into close relationship with us, so that our kids can learn and have opportunities to be very relationship oriented. The next step is to identify your gifts as individuals. So there's two kinds of gifts, really. There's your ministry gifts, and then there's your spiritual gifts. Today we're going to focus more on the ministry gifts, which is what's called the FiveFold gifts of ministry. And their purpose is to equip the saints to do the work of ministry for the church, for the body, for Christ. In Ephesians 4:11, it says that to each one is given evangelists, prophets, apostles, pastors, and teachers. Don't get caught up in the title of what that gift means.
The FiveFold Ministry is the revelation of Jesus Christ. He was all five of those things: an apostle, a pastor, a teacher, a prophet. He went and utilized all those gifts. Now, we're not Jesus, and so we don't have the fullness of all five of those. So we each are gifted in one of those, and then the others come kind of secondary in whatever season of life we're in, or wherever God is kind of working with us. So being able to identify what your main gifting is really important. And so let's talk a little bit about what those gifts are. So first we have the apostle, and the apostle means sent one. And a lot of times we think about the apostles, the disciples who went to Judea and Samaria and the ends of the earth. An apostle is a sent one. They have lots of authority and power from God. And they are really good at discipleship and teaching others about God, about Jesus. And so they're also really good at sending others out. So, Ephesians says that we're given these gifts in order to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And so apostles are really good at that, at saying, you know what, you would be great here. I see you here. I think you should go here. And giving away some of that ministry and those roles in ministry. The prophet is good at revealing the heart of God through forthtelling and future telling. And so a lot of times we think about the Old Testament prophets, and they would, get up there and they would say, "Thus saith the Lord." But really a prophet is just a person who hears the voice of God and who understands his heart and wants other people to understand it as well. And so they speak forth revelation or understanding or timing or things that would give edification to the body or to people so that they can be encouraged and understand God's heart. An evangelist is a messenger of good news, and they are anointed to preach the gospel. Now, a lot of times this is where this title thing kind of comes into play, is like, oh, you think of an evangelist, you think of a missionary, like they have to go out and they have to preach the good news. But really, an evangelist is just that person who can make a connection from just common, ordinary things and bring it right back to Jesus. Like, they're really gifted at just making new friends and reaching out to people and always bringing it back to Jesus. The next gifting is the pastor. And again, you're going to have one of those titles as pastor. If you think, oh, my gifting's a pastor, I'm going to quit my job and go be a pastor. Like, well, let's wait on that and, seek the Lord. But because a pastor is just someone who has a heart for God's people. And they are the shepherds, they are the flock tenders, they are really gifted in love, and they just have this heart for people. But they're also really anointed to preach and teach the word as well. We have teachers, And teachers are gifted at revealing the mind of God through His Word. And so they love the Word. They love to study the Word. They love to put all the puzzle pieces together. And that's how they, connect with people by saying, okay, well, here's your history lesson of all of these things that happened. And so for some, that's what they need. That's what they need to understand Christ and understand the mind of God.
For sure.
So it's really great how we have these 5 different ministry gifts, and we each are gifted in one particular, for sure, that's kind of like our strong one. And so you can kind of begin to see those taking place in your kids as they're growing, because we don't receive the fullness of that main gift until we become believers in Christ. But as we grow and as we develop, we become more and more in tune with our gift, if you will. And we can see that, though, in our personalities and in our kids' personalities. So we've been able, just like John was saying with our mission for our family, we've been able to kind of identify our youngest. We're still not quite sure where she's at, but our 2 oldest, we definitely have seen some of these characteristics come out of them, and be able to kind of mold and shape them and help them see how they can be used by God within their giftings. And that's where fulfillment comes from.
Absolutely. With these, when they're all working together, there's unity in the body. There's unity for doing ministry. There's unity in carrying out the great commission that Jesus gave all of us as believers and followers of Christ. And that's the way they're designed to work, is together in unity. But there's also can be some places where it looks like there's competing hearts when you get these people involved together. Because if you think about what Ashley was saying a while ago, is that an apostle is someone who is really good at sending others out to do the work. A pastor has a shepherd's heart, a shepherd's mindset, protect the flock, which can sometimes be, maybe I want to keep people a little closer in, or I can keep an eye on them, I can protect them from the wolves. So when you don't have unity, when you don't understand each other's gifts and abilities, and you're not trusting the people that God has put around you for ministry purposes, that could be a place where, an apostle might send people out before they're ready. A pastor may not ever send them out. But when they work in harmony together, that's when you have this great ability to dig deep, to raise up leaders and saints, and then send them out at the right time, when you can trust each other. On the flip side of that, when we're talking about they work in unity together, think of an evangelist. Evangelist is gifted at taking any conversation and any relationship and turning it back to Jesus. That's their heart, is to share the gospel wherever they go. Now you partner them with a teacher. Teacher is someone who has an ability and a gift to connect the heart of God through His Word. In other words, they're good at digging deep into who God really is, what the Word really means to us. And so those 2 things, you put them together and you have a powerful force of turning people to Jesus and then teaching them in the ways of God, to be godly people, godly men and women.
Yeah, so the FiveFold is meant to work together just like that, where we are each in our own giftings and we're relying on those around us who have different giftings so that they can kind of fill in the gaps. And so as we're working together in unity and we're growing in our gifts, then we can be more and more like Jesus. And so when your family team is working on these gifts and how to implement them into your mission, it's important to know how they work together and how they can kind of rub each other, but it's in, that relationship that you find growth and you find sanctification as you're walking and to be more and more like Jesus. And so it's so important to be able to identify what your gifting is, where God has you, and essentially where He wants you to go. Like, what is He going to do? So I'll link a couple more resources for you to be able to, identify your ministry gifts and learn a little bit more about it in the comments below. But I would encourage you to pray about each individual team member of your family to see where God has them and what his plan is for them. He was the one that created them, so pray about it and ask him to reveal it to you.
Yeah, because you can do and you can find online. There are assessments out there. There are things you can do some research on. Ashley's going to post some of them. But just the key is make sure you cover it in prayer and make sure you are receiving and that God is able to communicate with you and that the questionnaire is an aid more so than it is God's plan for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this will help you identify how each team member can function within your team. So join us next week as we talk about rituals and traditions and the things that you can do as part of your daily, your weekly, your monthly, and your yearly life to help improve your team and the direction you're going in your mission.